Ciao everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel. My name is Eleonora, I'm a registered migration agent in Perth, Western Australia, and the agency I manage is Green Wings Migration. Before starting with today's topic, I would like to ask you something. Are you a migrant in Australia already? Or are you a migrant to be? Are you exploring your options to come to Australia and potentially settle down here? If that is your situation, I really suggest you follow our channel. Activate the notification so you never miss any update that we publish. We talk regularly about migration matters, strategies, suggestions, tips, anything above and below coming to Australia. So if you want to, explore your options, understand how the system works before relying on a professional and trying to create your background of information, definitely recommend following us. And now, without further ado, let's dive into today's topic. Today is going to be about how to best approach your migration pathway in terms of doing it by yourself or trusting a third party to look after your case. Australia, differently from other jurisdictions, allows you to choose whether you want to self-manage your application or whether you would rather use the expertise of a third party, being it a registered migration agent or a migration lawyer. This is different from other countries, for example, Canada or the US, where you have to use a lawyer, or even Italy, where the professional role of a migration assistant doesn't exist and you have to go through the local police station to get your paperwork sorted out. So I think on this point, Australia, it's really great because it allows everyone to choose for themselves first and also to decide whether they want to invest time and money in the process on their own or delegate it someone else to do the hard work for them. In terms of professionals, we see primarily two figures. One is the registered migration agent and the other is the migration lawyer. Bear in mind that people who are not registered, they cannot be called and they cannot call themselves migration agent. It does not exist something like a non-registered migration agent. Those are unlawful and unscrupulous operators that you must not trust. Because if you are lucky, they simply get a lot of money out of you without messing up too much for your future. But if you're not lucky, you're not only going to be out of pocket for thousands of dollars, but you're also going to end up in a very messy situation due to the fact that those people don't have the real knowledge necessary to deal with these cases properly. So on this point, let's be clear and let's all agree. If you use someone who is registered, whether it's a registered migration agent or a migration lawyer, okay? Now, what makes the difference? Well, someone who becomes a registered migration agent is someone who has a university degree and has then attended a postgraduate diploma that is specific to the Australian migration law system, okay? So they've gone through proper training and they've gone through proper assessing as well. Everybody at the end of their training course, they have to pass a national exam, which is called capstone. And the capstone is extremely hard. It must be passed with a high proficiency in order to gain the badge of registered migration agent. Once they are registered, they have to do certain things to maintain the registration. It's not a one-off thing and you're sorted for life. So first of all, you have to pay your registration fee annually to the OMARA, which is the office that regulates the profession. They create the standards, they enforce the standards, and they enforce the sanctions for the agents who don't follow the standards. Secondly, they also have to attend regular update sessions that are called CPDs. So we need to actually study 10 CPDs a year, which could be online training, face-to-face training, depending on the situation. We must maintain good character. So every year we need to present a police certificate that confirms that we have not gotten involved into messy, strange things. And we also need to report our actions every year. So we need to give evidence of our business turnover, for example. We always need to disclose who our employees and our associates are. The Omara really needs to be sure that we are good people, that we act in good faith, and that we maintain professional standards. Similar things apply to lawyers. The biggest difference for a lawyer is that they don't necessarily have, or at least not anymore, have to go through the migration law course. A lawyer specializes in their practice, and as a collateral, they can also operate in the migration sphere. From a client perspective, it may be sometimes better to use a lawyer if you are not only looking to sort out issues related to the migration system. Say, for example, that you are a migrant, but you also have an ongoing family matter, or maybe you have an ongoing criminal matter. In that case, using a lawyer who specializes in that law session and also can help you out from a migration standpoint would probably be advisable. But if you are a normal migrant, so someone who only needs advice in terms of migration, a registered migration agent is definitely someone who can give you the attention, care, and service that you need. When I say this, I would like to make a disclaimer, okay? I don't really want to pass the message that migration agents and migration lawyers are flawless. It is not unheard of, people who unfortunately make mistakes. But I really think every mistake needs to be assessed in its own right. So if a person is doing their job, I start from the assumption that they always do it in the best of their capacities. Unless they're willingly giving you a wrong advice just because they can get a financial gain out of it, then I would not like to bash those agents and those lawyers and the agencies who unfortunately in the course of doing their job have sometimes made a mistake, as all human beings do. So let's try to again discern the people who try to operate illegally or unlawfully or willingly in the wrong way because they see you not as a client but as a person that they need to take advantage of. Those are not people that I like to consider part of the profession. Anybody else, trust me, will go all the lengths that they can to give you the best possible service that they can offer. So what is the difference between doing it on your own and using a professional? Well, first of all, as I said before, professionals of all sorts, they have to go through constant training, developing their skills, improving their knowledge, and they are controlled by organisms that are delegated by the government to make sure that everything goes well, that those people operate within the limits and the boundaries of the law and the standards of the profession. So 99% of the times that you approach a professional, you know they are going to do the right thing for you and for the law. Delegating to someone else also would allow you to concentrate on what you do best. Especially if you're trying to migrate as a worker, you have to concentrate on your job, on your profession, on your employer, demonstrating that you are a valuable resource for the business who's going to hire you, okay? You don't want to take anything out of this time by concentrating on doing things that is migration related. Let the expert do this. Let someone who can do it in the best and possible way do it on your behalf to maximize the chances of your success. Another consideration that obviously comes on the table when the choice is between doing it on your own and hiring a professional is the cost. The cost can be quite significant, and the cost varies depending on the experience of the agent or the lawyer, the complexity on your own case, and other external factors that sometimes determine the final price, okay? Obviously, I do see people sometimes that struggle because the cost that the government asks for the visa, it's high enough already. So by the time that you put the government costs together with the professional fees, your overall total cost can be quite significant. But I also think you need to see things in perspective. If you compare this investment to the long-term outcome, is it worth it for you or not? And don't forget that registered migration agents and lawyers, we are people. We do understand the difficulties that you come across, okay? Most of us have gone through the process and the same difficulties before you years ago. So if you face an issue, always feel free to talk to the professional that is following your case, because they might offer you solution in terms of, particular payment plans, or referring you to someone who can help you from the financial side of things. Obviously, our profession is heavily regulated, and the cost of maintaining our knowledge is quite significant as well. And in most cases, this is why you might have the perception that the cost you've been quoted is high. Not necessarily just a, minute for dollar payment kind of thing. As I said at the beginning, Australia does offer you the possibility to self-manage. So if you have, tested different agencies, for example, none of them gave you the right feeling, you don't think it's worth it to invest in an agency service, in the agency support, well, obviously you can do it yourself. So what are the tools that you can use? The department has created a website which is not necessarily the most user-friendly website ever, but it's definitely a good starting point. There are many groups on the different social media platforms as well that give you suggestions. And obviously, you can also use AI, ChatGPT. Now, am I happy when someone say, oh, I've done my visa by myself, it was super easy, I think I would have wasted my money using an agent? I'm not happy, and I definitely don't agree. Not only because I represent a category of professionals, but because I've seen the aftermath of people choosing to do it on their own when they do not 100% use English properly. So coming across legislation can be quite complicated and daunting. And another very common mistake that I've seen happening is people thinking that their case is essentially the same as someone else's. So the same strategy that a friend, a family member, a co-worker applied to their own has been translated into the other person's circumstances, resulting into a refusal, a mistake. It does happen. It does happen very often. We have recently seen a case of a person who came for a consultation. They decided to do it on their own, and several months after the lodgement, they contacted us again because the Department of Home Affairs does not agree with what they have done, and they ask for our help, for our expertise, for our support, trying to save the application that they lodged, and right now looks like it's potentially going to be refused. So again, it always goes back to a determination on whether the financial investment and the time investment is worth for you and for your future. Definitely, I recommend you going through more than one consultation with agents or lawyers before deciding whether you want to do it on your own or you want to assign the case to someone else. Do not stop at the first consultation. Always ask for multiple opinions, so then at the end you can evaluate your options and choose for your own circumstances. So this is all for today. I hope I gave you interesting insights on the process of whether you want to use someone else's expertise to manage your visa, or you feel confident enough to do it yourself. Feel free to choose according to your circumstances. And then again, when you have questions, Ask those questions before assuming that what you're going to do is the correct way to do things. Thank you so much for listening. See you next time.